Approaching the alarm box once more, Ned gently pulled out the key. The lights flashed as before, but all was quiet. He pulled a tiny wad of gum from his mouth and pressed it over the winking red beam, tamping it firmly so that no light leaked out from the sides. He stepped back to look. It worried him that whoever disabled the alarm in the morning would spot the little plug of chewing gum. If they noticed it after switching off the alarm, it might mean nothing. But if they removed the gum while the system was still active, the 4 flashes of light would tell them everything they needed to know, and all hell would break loose. Ned pressed against a lump of gum with the end of the key, working it flat, until he felt that it was flush with the surface of the control box. By the small green glow that offered the only light to work by, Ned pressed and sculpted until he believed that the gum had become as good as invisible. Satisfied finally that everything appeared normal, he put the key in his mouth and moved silently towards the doors that led to the hospital wing. Babe was dead, and he, Ned, had not felt more alive for over 20 years. The blood was singing in his ears. His heart thumped and banged in his chest like a slapping, belt-driven engine, and every nerve in his body vibrated with power and energy. No matter what happened to him now, he knew he could never regret the return of so much intense excitement. If Dr. Mallow and all the staff were to leap out from the next doorway, if Rolf were to pin him to the wall and dislocate his shoulders again, and all privileges, books and papers were taken away forever, if he were made to subsist on nothing from now on but a regime of chlorpromazine and electric shocks, still it would have been worth it just to have experienced this short burst of true living. Dr. Mallow and the staff did not leap out from the next doorway. The next doorway led to the room adjacent to the ward where Babe had died, and the hospital wing remained as quiet as the tomb it was serving as. Ned put his hand to the doorknob and turned the handle. If he had made a mistake with the alarm box, he would discover it now. He pushed the door open. No bells jangled, no sirens wailed. All was silent. He closed the door behind him and felt for a light switch. He had found himself in a storeroom whose walls were lined with shelves filled with rows of medical supplies. In the centre of the room was a trestle table on which stood a packing case about 7 feet long and 3 feet wide, with thick rope handles attached to the end sides. Ned approached the table and laid his hands on the lid of the packing case. "Hello, Babe," he whispered. "So far, so good." He laid down the carrier bag and looked about him. The teaspoon was still gripped in his left hand, but he had hoped he might find something stronger. He searched the shelves and saw nothing that would help him. He had almost given up when he glimpsed the end side of a metallic blue toolbox under the table itself. Helping himself to a heavy-handled chisel, Ned set to work on prizing the lid free, being careful not to bend any of the nails. It took close to 15 minutes, and Ned was sweating profusely by the time he lifted the lid clear and laid it on the floor. Inside the crate, Babe's body was covered in a white sheet. Ned swallowed, gripped the fabric, and plucked it away. He almost screamed in shock. Babe was smiling. It was the smile that Ned had come to love over the last 10 years. It was the wicked grin of complicity, excitement and pleasure that always preceded a new lesson in a new field. "Wait till you meet Joyce, old lad. And next week, Faraday and magnets. Prepare to be astounded. The Battle of Lepanto tomorrow, Ned, my boy. Wagner, Richard Wagner, once in your system, never out. The Marshall attack, not an opening for the faint-hearted. Let's say Heil to Herr Schopenhauer, shall we? Russian verbs of motion, Ned. They'll drive you mad." Ned leaned down and stroked Babe's beard. "Here we go," he said.